Everybody's telling me what to do.
Just as long as everybody
The time is now 6:32, and we will start our public hearing.
Okay.
Dr. Montoya?
Again, members of the board and community, this is a standard public hearing to quickly go over the Texas Academic Performance Report that's done every year. We receive this from TEA in Austin, and we share the overview of this information with everyone. So, Ms. Deffenbaugh, if you want to go ahead and continue.
Good evening. We're here to discuss the Texas Academic Performance Report for 2015-2016 school year. The district is required in 90 days upon receiving the report to disseminate it to the public, and also after tonight to post the presentation within 2 weeks of today's date. The annual report also includes not only the TAPER report, but it also includes the district accreditation status, secondary and post-secondary institution from the Higher Coordinating Board, report on violent criminal incidences, campus performance objectives, and the PEAMS financial standard report. That was actually shared by our chief financial officer last month at a public hearing. The report consists of a few things. They call it district performance, student information, and also staff information. Starting off with our accreditation status for 15-16, the district did receive accreditation status. It combines the financial rating and also the state accountability rating. The accountability state rating for the district was MET standard. That's the highest standard you can achieve. All of our campuses, with the exception to one, did receive a MET standard rating. Those campuses that did receive a MET standard rating were eligible to receive a campus distinction designation. As you can see, there are certain areas where they can earn one specifically solely on academics, whether it be reading, mathematics, science, or social studies, or they can receive one for a top 25% student progress, closing the performance gap, or post-secondary ready. We had 2 campuses in the district. Crestview Elementary and JECA received all distinctions possible. In addition, we also have a local state accountability piece that we must send to the state, and that is our community and student engagement. This overlooks 8 areas, and as a district, we're required to go through them and decide with the public and community input as far as where we rate. Overall rating was exemplar, and statutory compliance means that we're in compliance with everything TEA asked us to do, and so the district did rate overall as a yes. Looking at the demographics of the district for 15-16 school year, we were at 23,251 students. Of that, we're 65% are economically disadvantaged, 9% are English language learners, and 77.5% of our students are at risk. Now, these are last year's numbers, not this current year. I can tell you right now we have increased in a lot of those areas. Underneath that, you'll also see our ethnic distribution. So it's going to tell you in comparison from the state how well we compare. On this one and all the slides after it, you will see that Judson ISD will be in red and the state is in kind of a tan-looking color up there. So you'll see that Judson is still continuing to be a pretty diverse district.
Ms. Deffenbaugh, Ms.
Yes.
Pashal has a question. Ms. Pashal has a question for you.
I didn't want to interrupt you. I didn't know if we should just wait till the end of your presentation. Which do you prefer?
I'm sorry, ma'am?
I have a question. But would you rather that we wait until the end of your
yes,
presentation?
please. That way we can
Absolutely.
get through it. Absolutely. Now the next part is looking at student enrollment. So this looked at how many students are enrolled in the district by grade level. The majority of our students we have in the district are in our 9th grade and 2nd grade with the most population. Underneath that, you'll see students enrolled by special programs. That include students in bilingual ESL, career and technology courses, gifted and talented, and special education. That is a comparison from 14-15 to give us an idea of how our programs are increasing or decreasing. Everything after this is always a comparison to the state. Now looking at teacher ethnicity distribution, on the left-hand side you'll see the district comparison and the makeup of our teachers on campus. On the right-hand side you'll see a comparison by the state, seeing how we compare as far as the number of teachers that we have in the district in the 15-16 school year in regards to ethnicities. Next, we have the number of years of experience of teachers. On the right-hand side is the district, looking at the teachers at the beginning, 1 to 5 years, 6 to 10, 11 to 20, and over 20 years of experience. So as you can see, in that one, we're pretty comparable with how the state is. The next part of the presentation will look at student performance. This will look at how students did on the STAR assessment. On the left-hand side, you'll see the reading assessment, and that is tested in grades 3 through 8. You'll see Judson ISD in red and the state in tan. As you can see, we're comparable to the state, a little underneath in some areas and some within a few points, some within 6. On the left-hand side, you'll see mathematics, and that is also tested in grades 3 through 8. Same scenario there. There seem to be certain same patterns. Some are within a few, some within about approximately 6 points. In reading and mathematics, students in 5th and 8th grade are allowed to take the test more than once. The state on the CAPER report only shows the first and second administrations. Next, we'll look at writing. Writing is tested in grades 4 and 7. As you can see here, same scenario, just a little bit under the state. On the right-hand side, we'll look at science, and that one is also only tested in 5th and 8th grade, 2 areas. I have science again here for you. And then lastly, we have social studies. On the right-hand side, that one's tested in 8th grade. You can see there is some considerable gap between Judson ISD and the state. And then we look at the end of course assessments. These assessments have to do with students taking courses that earn high school credit. We have English, English 2, Algebra 1, Biology, and U.S. History. We have some of these areas here that were comparable or at the state standard. For the EOC assessment, students are allowed to take the administration until they're able to meet the satisfactory standard. This includes assessments in July 2015, December 2015, and the spring of 2016 information. Next, we'll look at post-secondary readiness and advanced standards. The post-secondary readiness standards has to do with how students scored on 2 or more assessments at the final level. You'll see reading, mathematics, writing, science, and social studies. So in any of those areas, are telling that students are receiving post-secondary readiness that they met at that level. So you see, once again, there's a comparison to the state, a little dips in certain areas, but well within ability to move on to the next level this year. The right-hand side shows the percent of students who are well prepared for post-secondary ready, considering that advanced, and that is the highest level a student can achieve on the STAR assessment. So once again, there are some pieces that were within and then just a few points below. Next is the progress measure. This has to look at how well students are doing as far as making progress from one year to the next. This only looks at reading and mathematics. On the left-hand side, you'll look at students who met or exceeded the progress when reading and mathematics, and that combines the Algebra 1 and the high school courses together. And then on the right side, you'll see students who just exceeded that progress measure. These are students who made significant gains from one year to the next. Students in 5 and 8 are allowed to retake the state assessment more than once. On the right-hand side, you'll see the Student Success Initiative, which shows the first administration of 5th and 8th grade mathematics and reading. On the left-hand side, you'll show the cumulative, which is including within the second administration, what gains were made. So as you can see on the left-hand side, that is the final one that you see in the report in previous slides. There also is a third administration, but the state only looked at the first and second. Next, we move on to looking at the district attendance rate and dropout rate. At the very top left-hand corner, you'll see the attendance rate with comparison to the state from the 2013-2014 to 14-15. This information is reported that way in the CAPER report more than a year from now. So the 2 years prior information that we're looking at. And these are students in the attendance within 1st to 12th grade. Below that, you have the annual dropout rate that's shown for students in grades 7 through 8 and grades 9 through 12. There's also a comparison of 14-15 and 14-15 for 7 through 8 and 14-15 from 9 through 12. Graduation rate. We have a 4-year longitudinal rate, and what this means is they're students who started with their cohort in 2012, and they were expected to graduate by the year class of 2015. That is percentage of students who graduated, received a GED, continued high school, or dropped out after 4 years. On the left-hand side, you see a 5-year extended longitudinal rate, and this is students who should have started in the 9th grade with 2010, 2011, and they're followed for 5 years within their expected graduation after the year they're supposed to have graduated in 2014. Once again, it shows how many graduated, how many received a GED, continued through high school, or dropped out after 4 years. The next set of slides include college readiness indicators. I do want to make note on this one that this is not last year's data. This data is from 14-15 school year. There is even some information from 13-14. There are a lot of indicators, so solely one just really can't determine how the school or district is performing. So as of for the 2014-15 school year, 49.5% of students were enrolled or completed an advanced dual enrollment course in grades 11 and 12. 30% of those students completed an advanced or dual enrollment credit between grades 9 and 12. And then looking at our AP IB examination results, and these are only looking at students in grades 11 and 12, 8.4 were tested, and 39.9% of those students taking the exams met or exceeded the criteria. Another college readiness indicator is college ready graduates. This one, it says in order to be considered college ready, a student must meet one of 3 areas. That is either take the Student Success Initiative Assessment, which is the TSI, or take the SAT and meet the criteria, or take the ACT and meet the criteria. This is saying that the percent of the class of 2015 that were considered college ready based on that criteria solely is listed up here as 25 for ELA, 22 for mathematics, both subject 20%, and either subject 27%. At the time in 2014, the district wasn't solely a TSI school district, so we didn't have as many students who were able to access that area. They were solely based on SAT or ACT criteria. The next set is college and career ready graduates. This is the number of 14-15 graduates as they demonstrate if they're ready for post-secondary readiness success in 3 ways. Either they met the TSI criteria that was listed in the previous slide, or they completed or earned credit for at least 2 or more advanced or dual credit courses in either 13-14 or 14-15 school year, or they enrolled in a coherent sequence for career and technology courses as a part of a 4-year plan, or taking 2 or more CTE courses for 3 or more credits. And the class of 2015 was 86% college ready. Some other college ready indicators, and this would be from the 14-15 school year once again. We had 90% of our students that tested either in the SAT or ACT, and 11% were at or above criterion. For the class of 2015, the average SAT score was 1,257, and the state average was 1,394. On the right hand, you're going to see the ACT class of 2015, the average score, and then the state average score underneath it. We have another college readiness indicator, and this one comes from the Texas Institute of Higher Education. This is from the 13-14 school year, and this one says that 50% of graduates enrolled in Texas Institution of Higher Education. And then it says of those 54% of those students completed with 1 year without remediation. This also comes from the Higher Education Coordinating Board. This one's in the class of 2014. They graduated, those students enrolled in a Texas Public Higher Education institution in the fall of 2015. So it tells you how many of the students attended a 4-year university along with their GPA, how many attended a 2-year public college, independent college or university, not tracked, not found, and the total number of graduates. This one does not show whether a student entered the year after. This means that immediately they graduated in May and they had to enroll in the fall. Next, we'll look at campus performance objectives. These are set forth in the campus improvement plans. They are based on the TAPER report. They are periodically measured, and they are located on the website. The campus performance objectives were also approved by the board in December. And lastly, we have the violent and criminal incidences. We're required to report the number, type, and rate, and also the school prevention interventions for these areas. And the number of violent criminal incidents that occurred in 15-16, we had 283 incidences. That's 40 less from the previous year. As you can see, there's areas that decreased, and there are still areas that we need to have some improvement on. And this will give you from 2012 looking all the way up to 2015-16. So what's put in place for the interventions is we have a crisis management plan that addresses policies and procedures. It also requires to have a campus emergency operation plan, student code of conduct, safety drills, and there's periodically safety meetings with each campus crisis management. Also, our Director of People Services meets with each campus emergency operation team, and the district audit conducts safety audits through the year. We also have where we can report bullying allegations through an app and district website. It goes straight to the administrator, and it also goes to the Director of People Services and the Executive Director of Student Support Services, who then promptly investigate any allegations that are made. In addition to that, every campus also has a Rapture system, which has scanned every person that walks on to their school ID and allows us to be able to verify whether there is some criminal activity or something's posted in their background that might warrant that person to be removed from the campus. And lastly, we also have a adopted 15-16 student code of conduct, and it sets forth the rules and expectations of all Judson ISD students and any possible outcomes if they choose not to follow those rules and procedures. And they're inside the student handbook, which is made available online to parents and students, and it's also a copy can be obtained in campus. That concludes our report. The annual report will be in actual hard copy in the front of the ERC lobby, also at Woodlake Hills Middle School and Hopkins Elementary. And it's also located on our district website at the very top under About, and you'll see NCLB Accountability.
I think, Ms. Pichelle, if you have some questions, the floor is open.
Thank you. I'm looking for the page that I folded back. I'm looking at the page that says House Bill 5, Community and Student Engagement.
Mm-hmm.
And I see here, second language acquisition program was exemplary. My question is simply, is the dual language program part of that second language acquisition?
Yes, it is, Ms. Michelle.
Thank you.
Ms. Diffenbaugh, on the special ed percentage, what percentage do we have in our special ed programs?
Overall in the district?
Yes.
This current year, we're approximately about 9% of the district. But I would have to get back to you on that. I don't want to misquote that, because this information is all looking in the 15-16 school year. It's not
But you think it's
present.
around 9% approximately, something like that?
Approximately, but I'll look at that and get back to you.
That was my question. If we have further questions when we are able to scrutinize this, whom do we contact? You?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Any other questions from any board member? Mr. Salinas?
Thank you, Dr. Montoya. On the Judson ISD attendance and dropout rates, it doesn't have a page. It's You found it? Okay. The 2013, 2014 bar, and then the 2014, 2015, basically, there's not too much of a change, and basically, we're right there with the state, which is real good. I know that Dr. Montoya last year started talking about, let's see if we can improve by a little percentage on the attendance, and I think it did work. And on the superintendent report that we received last month, I believe, I noticed that most of the schools are working on that, and I'm very proud of that, because that brings in money. Every student that can attend school will bring in money. On the bottom, on the dropout rate, it seems that between, seventh and eighth, and then ninth and 12th. I noticed on the high school, it seems like we are, the Judson is 2.3, I'm sorry, and the state is 2.1. So again, I think comparing, I think we're doing real good on the dropout rate. I got one more page I want to discuss with you. Let's go to the number of, I'm sorry. Yes. The number of violent or criminal incidents.
Yes.
In 2012-13, where it says fighting mutual combat, I don't know how you call it mutual combat, but but anyway, we were at 196, and then in 2013-14, it really escalated, 224, and then 2014-15, it went down again to 176, and out of the last 2 years, that was great. And even 2015-16, I noticed it really went down to 174, and I'm very proud that our administrators probably are being more alert and listening to the kids when say so-and-so might have a fight or something. I'm pretty sure that's how they get their information. So that's very, very good, having to do with our administrators. I got one more here that I'm like Ms. Paschal, I lost the page, but I'm gonna find it, having to do with number of students and, student information. This is the 2015-16, is that
Yes, sir.
correct? Okay. I'm looking at the 11th versus 12th grade. For example, last year we had 1,819 11th graders. We only had 1,072 12th graders. I would like to know how many 12th graders. There's a big difference there. Are we pretty close to that 1,800?
I can look at that for you and tell you.
That's fair,
I'll get back.
because I hope we don't lose that many students. That would be great.
Yeah,
If we're in the
absolutely.
17, 18, I think that would be great. And I understand, students move, the parents move, or whatever. So would you get us that information next board meeting or something?
Okay.
So that we can get that. And I think that's all the questions that I have. Thank you very much. This is excellent.
Thank
Mr.
you.
Salinas, on the 11th and 12th graders, sometimes that's how they're classified because they haven't passed enough courses to be classified as a senior. So they're at school, but they're missing credits. They didn't go anywhere, they're still there. We used to call them like 9 Rs, repeaters, 9
10 Rs,
repeaters,
11
way
Rs.
back when. And so that's probably where some of them are at.
Oh, okay. Well, good, because I hope they're here. I hope we have
Thank
them.
you.
I'm for ADA.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. No further question for me.
Any further questions from any other board member? I guess that.